Durant a higher standard of living for city residents.
Over the last 2 decades, the Durant Industrial Authority has been able to recruit nearly $1 billion in new investment to the community. This has been accomplished through local partnerships with the City of Durant, the Durant Area Chamber of Commerce, and various other local partners. Working together, we hope to continue this trend while maintaining Durant's character and values.
Durant takes pride in serving as the headquarters of the Choctaw Nation, the third largest 80-acre campus devoted to serving the needs of tribe members. On the entertainment side, Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant includes southeastern Oklahoma's only AAA 4-diamond rated hotel, as well as a dozen restaurants, live entertainment, more than 4,000 slot machines, poker, and other table games. Historic downtown Durant charms visitors and locals alike with its eclectic lineup of unique shops and local restaurants, downtown events like the monthly Art Walk, the seasonal farmers market, and a host of holiday-themed sales stem from the efforts of Durant Main Street and its partnership with area merchants working together to make downtown the place to be.
We really see downtown as the heartbeat of our city. You can come here to find everything from shopping to entertainment, outdoor spaces, art. You know, we have so many murals and things that are popping up that people are loving to come and see. So anything that you're looking for in a destination, you can find it in downtown Durant.
A city whose economic development is an ongoing success story, driven by the spirit of community-wide collaboration. Discover Durant, Oklahoma.
Meeting of the Durant Community Facilities Authority. We've had our swearing-in ceremony, Natalie Blackburn and John Dean, and calling the meeting to order, and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Trustee Baxter? Here. Trustee Blackburn? Here. Trustee Dillard is absent. Trustee Dean?
Here.
Trustee Grover?
Here.
Trustee Miller?
Here.
Trustee Morris?
Here.
Vice Chairman Pierce?
Here.
Chairman Webb?
Here. Excellent. We do have a quorum. And our first item on our agenda is consent items. Just asking for some explanation earlier, and the only item we actually have under that category is our minutes. And so if you've had an opportunity to review those minutes, if not, let you review those, and I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the minutes.
I have a motion?
Second.
And a second?
Is that Mr. Baxter?
Grover with the second. I'll record the vote.
We should be able
Yep.
put in your votes. Mr. Dean?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they're on.
Ironed out.
Okay, it was I'm going to speak this one out because our computer just went down.
Gotcha.
It is a unanimous vote of yes.
We all approve the minutes. Outstanding. Move forward. So the consideration of items removed from consent, if those items had existed, they would be listed on our agenda. Is that correct?
They would automatically fall into that next category.
Into the information items. Got it.
Anyone who has a question about an item on consent can ask for it to be pulled,
Mhm.
and then vote on the remaining items.
Excellent.
And then that one that was pulled would fall down under number 2.
Got it. All right. So we move to item number 3, and that is our financial report.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Okay, I think everybody have the hard copy of this. Okay, I put the 2 months of the report in it. One is July and one is June. At the end of, I think the last 4 pages is the June report. Because this is the first quarter that New Year's of the meeting. So I attached the last month's report and the July's report. And the first page is the spreadsheet I made for our gross revenue account, checking account. It's got the revenue and expenditure and the interest earned for the month of the July. And the second page is I summary the revenue and expense financial report. So it's more easy to read it. And the far right side is the one that our revenue and take out all the expense, that is the net gain or loss for that month. And the third page is, because this is the first quarter of the meeting, so I attached our debt service payment. The gray out area is we already paid it. So that the white area is the one that we still owe, I think 1, 2, 3, 3 years. 3 years and 1 payment. And then after that is all the report that I generate from our financing software. And all the information, we just put it into our financial software. And I also attach the sales tax, quarter-cent sales tax revenue. This is just 1 quarter-cent of sales tax revenue, but DCFA have 2 quarter-cents of the sales tax. One is for the MS, the multi-sport complex, that quarter-cent, and one is for the southeastern quarter-cent. And then it will be our June's financial report. Do you have any question? You can tell that our sales tax keep growing, so it's a good good sign.
Questions, comments, observations? Anyone? So bottom line, we start off the fiscal year very good with 159,564 net to the
Yeah,
good,
just
right?
start off, yes.
That's always good.
And over the past 5 years, average of the yearly, that increase, I think is about $197,000 from the gross revenue account. Yeah, which means that our revenue and pay out the debt service, pay out those miscellaneous expense, that each year we got about 197,000 surplus,
Okay.
yeah.
Questions, comments, anyone? We've got her front and center. Okay, information item or a votable item?
Information.
Information, all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. All right, do we have a report on the Senior Activity Center renovation? Yep. Shane, is that you? All right. Awesome.
Not a ton of news, but a little good news. We have a end date in sight from the contractor of looks like October the 22nd. So they're planning to do their final cleaning and inspection on October 12th. So we should have if all goes well on that final inspection date, we should have a CO that week, which means it'll be substantial completion and in the hands of the city, out of their hands. They did start, so just a kind of a physical update. I'd say about 60% of the painting is done on the inside. They started tile work, laying tile today in all the bathrooms. Carpet should follow as soon as paint is finished. Fire sprinklers, they were buttoning up sprinkler heads and that sort of thing when I was in there last week, with the anticipation that they would finish that last week. So hopefully that got finished last week as well. Kitchen hood is in and operational. We had the last little bit of our concrete sidewalk on the exterior poured last week for the new front door entrance. And carpet is in hand, but that'll go in as soon as the paint is complete. So getting very close.
Awesome. Awesome. What, most of that is volunteer. I know we've hired a director, but what is once the city takes that, what does that look like? How do we staff that? Just curious.
It's interesting. We'll staff it with a city person, and then it is a combination, like the food service is done through RSVP, and
Got it.
some different agencies work that side of it, so it's a combination. But we'll have one
Got it.
point of focus for the city, would be the director. So.
I saw Gay Cunningham a couple of weeks ago, and she was recalling days in the old place, and I volunteered some over there, and she said the kitchen is jet fuel. That's my term, not hers.
Yeah.
She said it was really, really nice, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she'll be, I know she was an instrumental part in this for
Certainly.
well over a decade.
Yeah.
So I think she'll be happy when she sees all the
Good.
pieces in place.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Perfect. Thanks.
Anything else?
All good?
All right, thank
Other
you.
questions? Good. Thank you. Arena and Convocation Center. Coach Baxter, you have an update?
Yep, we have returned to quote-unquote normal activities at the university and with the arena and that facility. Started out with this summer having 2 commencements on July 30th and 31st for summer graduation. We had good crowds at both activities and seemed to go fairly smoothly. School started, so we're resuming our normal activities with women's basketball practice. Men will start sometime this week. With that, we also have Saw You at the Pole community event. Will be September 22nd that we'll host, and it'll have somewhere around 2,000 is what we've had in the past that will come out for that event on that night. We continue to have many walkers daily from the community that are escaping the heat. We had a neat group maybe a week ago, the little kids that came up. I didn't even know we had this in Durant, which was a good thing. Youngsters from 5 to 12, maybe in that age group, that they were having a running program, and it was so hot outside. We allowed them to come into the arena, and they got their training in there, and it was pretty neat watching them in there doing that. So it's good that we have the facility where people can escape the inclement weather to come in and walk and get their exercise on days where it's not so conducive to that outside.
It's the first summer commencement since 2007. Is that right? So, quick enrollment update. Durant Multi-Sports Complex, we have an update.
That would be right. For the sports complex, what we budgeted out for this year was the shades over the softball stands. Well, due to COVID, the prices went up, so it's out of our budget now. We're gonna have to reevaluate again next year to hopefully incorporate, because I know starting October 1st, they're raising the prices again on all playground structures and all that. So I'm in talks with the Playworks and Play and Park structures to try to start getting quotes now for next year. And as for events, we have the rec league soccer starting up this week. The games will start up as early as Saturday. Football starting up here in 2 weeks. Middle school softball's still playing, and they're going strong. I'm trying to get a end of the year soccer tournament going on out there. I just got to get Texoma Soccer Association on board to play in Durant. And that'll be the hardest deal. And if that's all that I have for the sports complex, I can move on to Carl Albert if anyone doesn't have any questions about the sports complex.
Summer baseball, softball tournament schedules packed it out pretty good, or?
Well, I know that they had 2 or 3 tournaments out there, and for baseball and softball. I honestly, it was before I started, so I couldn't tell you the turnout or how well it went. Okay. All I know is they were scheduled.
Got it.
And
okay, sure.
What were the costs on those shades before they went?
I think we budgeted $20,000 for that. I could be wrong. I might be remembering a different thing but I know it went up quite a bit of ways from what we budgeted.
Is the concession stand, are all those up and running during every
They're in every home.
game?
Yeah, we have,
Now.
I hired a event coordinator now that will keep the concession stands running. We have a girl that has been so far keeping it staffed, making sure everything is up to cleanliness and making sure that there's enough people for all the games. And in the contract, if they have the games out there, we provide the concession stands as long as they give us notice. I know, like middle school, we've had a couple games where they had to switch and we had less than a day's notice and I couldn't find staffing then, but for the most part, we keep it staffed.
What was that bid total, if you don't mind, on the shades now?
Again, I don't have that on hand.
Okay.
I just know what James has said it was a lot. So I haven't seen any of the actual bids.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
My daughter's a soccer mom. I ran into you at Walmart, and she gave you high remarks for your enthusiasm and your willingness to work with people like her, so
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
no problem.
Awesome. All right, yeah, tell us about Carl Albert.
So Carl Albert, there's a lot more going on. We have fully installed the turf for the Carl Albert playground. We have 3 more pieces of equipment to install. Now that the weather is kind of tipped out and we are not having to mow at quite as often, we're gonna start sending guys out there to finish installing the 3 pieces. The pool's now closed, so that I don't know if that was a part of anything, but I know the pool's closed. We finished out that season. I'm looking at next year's deal. What we lack in Carl Albert, according to what I was given, what was, I guess, from last meeting or the meeting before, I have the street department working on the drainage this month from off of Washington. Once they finish that, that's when we can actually start on the drainage and the resurfacing of all the parking lots. We'll start out with the east parking lot, and then we'll go to the pool parking lot. And once we're done with that, and once we finish the lights at Carl Albert, that's when we'll work on the west end of the parking lot. So we won't damage the parking lot while putting in new poles if we need to or any of that. The rest of the stuff, we have not set a date because we gotta wait until we figure out how far, and 1, with mowing, and 2, making sure we have everything for the concrete. We're working on restrooms now, and with the lighting at both Carl Albert and Dixon Durant, we're waiting until it gets non-mowing season.
Okay.
Anything else?
And disc golf is going nuts.
Yes, that's still a big deal. They came to me about making some adjustments. I told them, let me get a little time into the actual position before I start moving things around. But I'll meet with them probably soon to see what they're wanting and what all is actually something we can do, or if they're wanting to handle it.
They is like a local club or group?
Apparently it's a lot bigger than what I anticipated. It's they have nationwide tournaments and all that at Lake Durant.
Yeah.
And the only reason they don't have it here in town is because that Frisbee golf setup is not national ranked. You can't have tournaments unless it has at least 13 holes. And they didn't plan for it 13, so they're looking at trying to add a few more and get more of the holes out of the way so the big field can actually be used for kids to play catch or something there. But they have a plan, and they're just trying to get it all finalized before they bring it to me.
Length of play, I think, comes into
Yeah,
play as well for some of that.
What they said was if they had a professional player play that hole, they would get done in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, it'd take me a lot longer to do that, but they're all for it. They're wanting to broaden it and make more courses in some other parks, and we're just looking into that.
Yeah. Anyone?
Okay.
Disc golf at the complex, maybe. Would be nice. Swift and painless. Administration? Yeah, okay. All right. New business. Anybody got anything? Got anything?
I did have one thing. Our last meeting, I kind of left out of here a little confused, and maybe you guys can help shed some light. Our committee, are we a advisory committee? What are we exactly? I don't know who can answer that question. To the city council.
This is actually an authority group. It's not an advisory group. So this group has the ability to obligate funds to be spent and to regulate everything that's within the authority's power. So it is different than an advisory board. I have a book about that big that sits on my desk, if you'd like to read it. It tells about what this authority can and can't do, so.
Right.
I would like to add to that, if you haven't, especially you new, Natalie and Humphrey, if you haven't read the trust document that goes with this authority, there are 2 or 3 pages that specify how the funds can be dispersed, and we've not all agreed upon that in the past. That's a very important part of the document you should all be familiar with. I think it's online, isn't it?
Other questions, comments while we're here? I think that was one of the things that I think there was conversation about, and maybe that's, I think I brought the question up maybe at the last meeting, just about not necessarily a plan for doling out funds, but having some idea of what historically what it looks like between now and when the sun sets on this authority. I don't know exactly what that looks like. Maybe that's something that we can have on our agenda for the next meeting, where 190 some odd $1,000 net to the good every year is I mean, we're maintaining debt, we're still doing good things throughout our community, and we're still putting good money to the bottom line annually. And if it's when this authority goes away, if it does, I mean, the time frame is short, relatively short. Is that something we push away from the table and the funds just stay there, or is that something that we have some goals that we want to try and achieve, or some business that's not done? I think based on the reports from the Carl Albert Park and from the Ron Cross Senior Center, there's awesome things being done. So that may be a conversation, discussion that we can, have a specific conversation, put it on the agenda for next meeting to maybe chat about those things.
I would welcome that. I mean, I was here when it started, and I know some of you were as well. And the intent of the sales tax was to better the community of Durant, and I think it would be we'd be very prudent to continue that, and then as the tax goes away, to make sure that we have done what the intent was at the very start, to better the community of Durant in all aspects. And there's multiple projects and entities that could utilize the funds, but what are the priorities? And I think it would be very behoove us to establish some goals and objectives to do that with the 2.5 years, 3 years we have left.
So what does that look like? Do we give this homework, or do we come back with ideas on how we can prioritize that? I mean, I guess that's another good question for everybody.
I would say I would agree with Mike. I think as long as we're all very familiar with what that document states, what we can, what we can't do. I don't know that it's a session where we come forward and we push our money together and say, what can we get for this much? But I know that there are projects. I know the city has projects. I know, anyway, I just think that has to be a discussion where we don't march forward for a couple of years, and at the end of our tenure of this authority.
Informal meetings allowed?
No.
Not with a majority of members.
Yeah. That's not a votable thing, but does that sound reasonable? Something for next meeting to chat about that and discuss where we go, what do we do? Awesome.
Well, if there's not a plan, what happens at that point? When the tax goes away, what happens?
When the tax goes away, if there's any funds left, it becomes the city's, because the city is the benefactor of the authority.
Right. And I don't know that that's a horrible thing. It's just, I just want, to have some idea and some consensus, I guess, of what the possibilities might be for that type of funding. Okay. All right, good. Anything else under new business? Anybody got anything we need to put on the table? It's not an item 6, but I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
I second.
All right.
Baxter, I did. I was first. You was first. I was second.
Yeah. 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 All right. Voting on adjournment? Is that where? Yeah. Excellent. Thank you all. Appreciate you.
Natalie's is not coming.